In 1920, the top of a Manhattan apartment building was where the servants lived. Then the elevator became reliable. And within a decade, the floor nobody wanted was the most expensive address in the building. Penthouses aren't really about apartments, they're about altitude, and the human conviction that being above everything else is worth paying for. 7 levels. Let's get into it. Level 1. The entry penthouse, $300,000 to $1,500,000. This is the level where the word penthouse is technically accurate and practically modest. In most mid-sized cities, Dallas, Denver, Melbourne, Lyon, the top floor unit of a residential building gets marketed as a penthouse when it has two things: a private terrace and ceiling height above the floors below. That is often the full list. The finishes may be better. The views may be city-facing rather than courtyard-facing. The sense of arrival in the elevator may carry a different weight. What the buyer at this level is purchasing is position within a building. The knowledge that their floor is the final floor, that no one lives above them, and that the terrace, however modest, is theirs alone. The buyer here is a professional in their late 30s or 40s who has decided that the apartment question is settled. The penthouse designation matters to them less than the terrace at dusk. They will put a table out there. They will eat outside in summer. That is the product. From here, the price escalation is steep. And from here, what you are buying changes. Level 2. The urban penthouse, $1.5 million to $8 million. This is where the penthouse becomes a statement. In every major city, Barcelona, Amsterdam, Sydney, Chicago, there is a tier of residential development where the penthouse floor was designed from the beginning as the building's commercial centerpiece. The ceilings are higher because the architect specified it. The terrace is larger because the developer allocated the entire footprint to it. The views are unobstructed not by chance, but by deliberate positioning in the urban grid. The Mark Hotel in New York listed its penthouse at $75,000 per night as a hotel stay, which gives some sense of what a permanent version of the same altitude commands in the sales market. In London's Nine Elms development, the penthouse units at One Blackfriars start around £10 million for the highest floor residences. In Sydney, the penthouse floors of Crown residences at One Barangaroo opened at prices above 30 million Australian dollars. The buyer here is not making a lifestyle decision about a terrace. They are making a financial and social statement about their position in the city. The building is part of the argument. The view is the evidence. Level 3. The super prime penthouse, $8 million to $40 million. The building is now an address, not just an apartment. One Hyde Park in London's Knightsbridge opened in 2009 and was immediately the most expensive residential development per square foot in the country. The building itself is visually restrained. 4 interconnected pavilions, clean glass and steel, nothing that announces itself. The standard apartments at One Hyde Park sold for prices that set London records at the time. The penthouses are another category. The building's developer, Nick Candy, built the Crown Penthouse and kept it for himself for over a decade. In 2021, it was offered as a whisper listing at $247 million. In 2025, it was relisted at approximately £175 million. No advertising, no public listing. Word of mouth, broker to qualified buyer in the way that assets of this scale change hands. The building has bulletproof glass, a car lift to an underground garage, a pool, a cinema, a golf simulator, every amenity integrated into a residential building on the edge of Hyde Park. At level 3, the penthouse is no longer just real estate. It is membership in an address that functions as a statement about who you are, legible to exactly the people it needs to be legible to. If this is landing, hit like and subscribe. Every week I break down how status, architecture, and money actually work, not how the brochure describes them. Level 4. Billionaires Row, $50 million to $238 million. This is where the altitude itself becomes the product. West 57th Street in Manhattan runs along the southern edge of Central Park. In the 2000s, a series of super-tall residential towers rose along this block, buildings designed not primarily to maximize units, but to maximize height per unit. The buildings are narrow by design. The floor plates are small. The point is not the square footage. The point is the elevation. 220 Central Park South, designed by Robert A. M. Stern, completed 2019, is 79 stories and 950 feet. Ken Griffin, the founder of the Citadel hedge fund, paid $238 million for a penthouse unit there in January 2019. It remains the most expensive residential sale in United States history. Central Park Tower, the tallest residential building in the world at 1,550 feet, placed its triplex penthouse on the 3 highest floors of the structure, listed for $250 million in 2022, reduced to $195 million after a year on the market. The apartment sits 1,416 feet above the street, the world's highest residential floor. Here is the insight that nobody says plainly about this market. The buyers are not primarily making a housing decision. They are acquiring a coordinate, an address that is measurably, verifiably higher than any other address in the city. The height is the investment thesis. Level 5, the Fortress Penthouse, $50 million to $200 million. Some penthouses are not sold on the open market. They are offered privately to a list of buyers that has been assembled over years through conversations that did not begin with real estate. The building is known to the people who matter. The price is discussed after the relationship is established. One Hyde Park's highest transactions happen this way. The most significant penthouse sales in Dubai, including the Como Residence's penthouse on the Palm Jumeirah, reportedly transacted at over 500 million dirhams, happen this way. The Aman, New York penthouse, purchased by developer Vlad Doronin for $135 million, happen this way. What these buildings share: the residences have security specifications that go beyond luxury. The penthouse at this level is not just a home. It is a hardened position in an urban environment for a person whose physical security is a managed operational concern. Level 6, the Trophy Penthouse, $100 million to $440 million. In Monaco, there is a penthouse with a water slide. Not a metaphor. At the Tour Odéon in Monaco, the Principality's tallest building since its completion in 2015, designed by Alexandre Giraldi, developed by Group Marzocco, the Sky Penthouse occupies the top 5 floors. 35,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, a kitchen on every level, a private cinema, a spa, an infinity pool on the terrace, and a water slide. The developer's stated rationale for including it was direct. No other penthouse in the world had one. The price tag has been reported at figures ranging from approximately $387 million to $440 million. Various estimates exist. The final transaction price was not publicly disclosed. What is not disputed? It is routinely cited as the most expensive private residential property ever listed for sale. Monaco has a specific logic. Residents pay no income tax. The Tour Odéon did not build the most expensive penthouse in the world by accident. It built it because Monaco is the only market on the planet where a developer could reasonably expect to find a buyer. The water slide is not the product. The jurisdiction is. Every level of this hierarchy is a more expensive version of the same transaction. The entry penthouse buyer wants to be above the other floors. The Billionaires Row buyer wants to be above every other building. The Monaco buyer wants to be above the tax structure itself. The apartment was never the point. The distance from the ground was.